Later on, he said, well, even hospitalizations don't really matter. Tell that to the people in the hospital. But he said only deaths matter. And look, I remain hopeful that we will never get the death numbers that we had before, but he is pretending that it's not getting worse. On August 3rd, we had 668 deaths. Back on July, like around the first week of July, we were at like 150, 200, maybe 250. So we're losing something like 400 to 500 more people each day than we were. And that is a small enough increase in deaths that people largely aren't even talking about it yet. But the cases are now going up 50% in a couple days. Are we just gonna cross our fingers and hope that that's not gonna translate to more deaths? Why would we believe that? Anyway, we have time for one more story, so why don't we jump into that? It's a little bit different, so we're gonna jump right into this video and tell you what we think.
Let's go.
You guys suck. My parents are worth 2 million goddamn dollars. And you know what? You yeah. You know what? My grandpa. You see? Hey! Yo! Chill out!
So that was Maxwell Berry. Someday he'll be a Republican congressman, but right now he's a guy who got duct taped to a plane seat because he apparently assaulted a male flight attendant. You can see that there. He also groped some female flight attendants. So this initially, by the way, became news because Frontier Airlines suspended the flight crew for doing what you saw in that video, for duct taping this guy who was going insane. We want to give you more details and give you an update. So a police report stated that after consuming 2 drinks, bit of a lightweight, Barry apparently, he brushed his empty cup against a female attendant's backside, spilled a drink on his shirt, returned shirtless. After an attendant helped Barry get another shirt from his carry-on luggage, he walked around for 15 minutes before groping 2 female flight attendants' chests and punching a male flight attendant in the face. After that, he was, of course, restrained. He also fit in a little bit of time for asserting that I guess he can do anything he wants because his parents are worth $2 million. I don't know why that matters. It seems persuasive to him, Francesca. But let me know, what do you think?
Yeah, this is definitely the Matt Gaetz origin story, dude. I love it. And then they had me duct tape to a chair and they were all laughing. And that's when I realized I had to make more poor people. I had to take away Social Security and Medicare and Medicaid. Like, I love that. That is amazing. First of all, F that guy forever. What is he doing? Imagine, we've all been on flights. The patience that we've seen flight attendants exhibit when it comes to, all kinds of situations. The people with the dogs, the people trying to get the thing on the overhead compartment, just like I need to go to the bathroom a million times. And again, can I get another bit of ice? Whatever it is, they are like, these are like, they're wait staff in the sky, they're babysitters, they're wage workers. They are like, they're doing everything. They're saving our lives half the time. Sometimes you got to duct tape a fool to his seat.
Yep. 100%. Some people are pointing out, by the way, he's not gonna be a congressman, he's gonna be a Supreme Court justice someday. Yeah, and also like, look, obviously $2 million from our point of view, from most people's point of view, is a lot of money, but it doesn't feel like enough for you to shout it across a plane. Like, you're not a Bezos. I don't know, that seems weird. But anyway, look, now eventually because of the backlash, they changed the suspension to with pay, and it's looking like maybe they won't be in any permanent trouble or something like that. But I'm just gonna say, this is only the latest in the, like, I guess the Ariel Karen genre of America. Everybody's starting fights. So look, I wanna go a step further. I don't just want to support flight attendants who do this. I think it's time to start preemptively duct taping everyone to their seat. I think just catheter everyone, turn on the TV, and duct tape them to their seat because we can't be trusted in things like planes anymore. Perhaps we never could. So I duct tape them all. Hashtag. That's what I got for you. Anyway, Francesca, that is unfortunately all the duct tape time we have. But we want to thank you for taking time out of your probably busy Wednesday and joining us. Thank you as always. I hear that we're trying to get more people to subscribe to the Bitchuation Room on YouTube. Is that the plan?
That's the plan. So go to YouTube/FrannyFio, which is my handle on all the things, and subscribe to the Bitchuation Room. I had a great interview with an awesome journalist who writes about the drug war yesterday, and I got a good show on Sunday night. Sundays 5/8 Eastern. Thank you so much, John Idarola and team.
That is awesome. And everyone watching this, she's gonna check her analytics in a day or two. I wanna see a big old spike. So YouTube, search the Bitchuation Room, it'll come up, it's awesome. She has great guests on, they always have a lot of fun. Occasionally she puts me on the show, that's always nice. So let's see if we can create that spike. Thanks, Francesca, have a good one. And for those of you at home, thank you.
Thank you. Sorry, I was just riding out. Thank you, bye.
I thought you were like doing a Rudy or something. Anyway, thank you everybody for watching. I will be joining Anna Kasparian on the second hour of the Young Turks a little bit later on. So should be a lot of fun. It usually is. So definitely stay tuned for that. And we got a bunch of other stuff planned. We got a full week. We're gonna search for good news and we will deliver it to you. But until then, stay safe out there. Stay sane out there. I'll see you soon.
right, what's happening? Welcome to Indisputable. I'm your host, Dr. Rashad Richard. Good to be with you. We got a lot of show today. Ladies and gentlemen, it's time for Governor Cuomo to sit down. Before I get into that, breaking down news of the day is my big homie, Brett Ehrlich. He is TYT host and producer. Bringing him up in just a moment. Top story for today. The Attorney General launched an investigation. They found that this man is foul. Here's the AG.
The independent investigation has concluded that Governor Andrew Cuomo sexually harassed multiple women and in doing so violated federal and state law. Specifically, the investigation found that Governor Andrew Cuomo sexually harassed current and former New York State employees by engaging in unwelcome and non-consensual touching and making numerous offensive comments of a suggestive and sexual nature that created a hostile work environment for women. The investigators independently corroborated and substantiated these facts through interviews and evidence, including contemporaneous notes and communications. This evidence will be made available to the public along with the report.
I know there are some people who are saying, well, it wasn't all that bad what he did. And obviously he's denying it. Here's the reality. If you stand for what is morally right, you have to take allegations like this seriously, especially when they're inside of your own party. The Attorney General, Ms. James, she's a Democrat. The witnesses corroborated. You had over 100 people question. This was thorough. And many witnesses have already given their testimony to the investigators. So here's more video.
Over the past several months, you have heard a number of complaints brought against me. I called for an independent review, and I said at the beginning I would let the process unfold. I didn't want anyone to say that I interfered. I said I would hold my tongue, and I have, making only limited comments. It has been a hard and a painful period for me and my family, especially as others feed ugly stories to the press. But I cooperated with a review, and I can now finally share the truth. My attorney, who is a non-political former federal prosecutor, has done a response to each allegation, and the facts are much different than what has been portrayed. That document is available on my website. If you are interested, please take the time to read the facts and decide for yourself. First, I want you to know directly from me that I never touched anyone inappropriately or made inappropriate sexual advances. I am 63 years old. I've lived my entire adult life in public view. That is just not who I am, and that's not who I have ever been.
Then it gets kind of weird. Watch this.
I do it with everyone, black and white, young and old, straight and LGBTQ, powerful people, friends, strangers, people who I meet on the street.
Wait a minute. Wait a damn minute. Was that an admission of guilt? Did he not just say, hey, I do it with everyone? Let's play the video again.
I do it with everyone, black and white, young and old, straight and LGBTQ, powerful people, friends, strangers, people who I meet on the street.
Okay, so you realize that literally he ordered somebody to find a bunch of pictures of him embracing other people, black people, white people, brown people, the young and the not so young. And this was his proclamation to the world. Hey, I'm not innocent, I'm not guilty, I'm actually innocent because look at these pictures. And just to provide proper context, the people in those pictures are not accusing him of being sexually inappropriate, okay? He's trying to make a thing that's not a thing in the first place. So you gotta be very careful about the slickness of the deceit here. Okay, let me read some background. The investigation found that he sexually harassed nearly a dozen women at work to retaliate against one of his accusers. I think he should resign, Biden told reporters Tuesday, echoing House Speaker Nancy Pelosi and New York US Senator Chuck Schumer. The nearly 5-month non-criminal investigation, some are saying it should have been criminal, by the way, overseen by New York's Attorney General and led by 2 outside lawyers, concluded that 11 women from within and outside state government were telling the truth when they said Cuomo had touched them inappropriately, commented on their appearance, or made suggestive comments about their sex lives. Those accusers included an aide who said Cuomo groped at the governor's mansion, and the state trooper on his security detail who said he ran his hand or fingers across her stomach and her back. There's more. Ann Clark, who led the probe with former US Attorney Kim, said the allegations had varying degrees of corroboration, including other witnesses and contemporaneous text messages. Investigators interviewed 179 people, including the governor himself. It's time to sit down, sir. Brett, what are your thoughts?
I mean, so you're in a weird position. It's weird. It's okay to say that this is weird. The very serious allegations and ensuing investigation. They mentioned that they have 74,000 pieces of evidence that they have gathered. They've talked, as you said, to 179 people about this. That is the serious thing. And this is a scandal that if some people don't like to call it that, but like in terms of the reason I call it a scandal is because that is how it seems that Cuomo is approaching it. And then juxtaposed to the very serious nature of that, you got the New York Attorney General coming out there and making very serious, grave statements about the findings of investigation. Then you have the weirdest response I've seen in quite some time, where he's like, I just do this all the time. I grab faces, I touch, I kiss people. What's the matter? Like, that is not a defense. And while it is different than saying, I rob people all the time, is what I do. I rob them. Here's pictures of me robbing them. I know it's different than robbing them, but like just because you do something all the time doesn't make it okay to do. It makes it normal behavior for you, but is that the norm that a reasonable person would expect at the office? That you would grab their face and kiss them? I don't think so. That's what makes it so terribly weird. And the other thing that I think has all the trappings of an official statement that you would come to expect, and so he's saying it in a way that seems official, that you need to call out what it is at the beginning when he goes, I let this play out. I let the investigation play out before I said anything. And now my statement is, I'm not guilty. Like it's as though we were, what was the alternative? Did we think that after the investigation, you're gonna be like, oh yeah, I totally did it? No, you just said like, as he's trying to make you feel like this is a giant revelation, I'm not guilty at all. It's like, of course, like that's the same position you had going in. You didn't want to comment on it, but you sure wanted to spin it. And the other bit of evidence in his like debate prep is my lawyer says I'm not at fault. Right. Like, yeah, that's what your lawyer's supposed to do. It would be weird if your lawyer was like, oh no, guys, yeah, I talked to him, bad news, bad news. I think they're like prevented from doing that actually. And you would get a mistrial in at least a criminal court if your lawyer was not acting in your favor at all times along the way.
Right, and he tried to provide context to the attorney being nonpartisan, a former federal prosecutor, but it's a guy that you pay.
Yeah, exactly.
So that's
like
incentive.
100%.
Right. That's the incentive here. Okay. That's the guy you pay to say what needs to be said in order to defend you. Listen, it is what it is, man. At this point, everyone is asking for his resignation, including the president of the United States. Governor Cuomo is trying to stay in office and stay in power. And I also think there's another practical reason, because as long as he's in office and let's say these allegations become more, well, he gets to utilize the great power of the state of New York in order to defend him against these allegations because they happened during his time as governor. And I do expect this to evolve into much more after the press conference.
Yeah, and I get it. Like resigning is something at his disposal. The New York Times editorial board came out with an op-ed saying like, you gotta go, buddy. But it's just so strange in the meantime to see him kind of handle it this way. I really can't struggle. I'm struggling to find like a good argument, just taking myself out of it, what I think is right and wrong out of it, just trying to see what part of his argument is any good at all. And I didn't see one. I didn't see one at all. The big question here, I think, is an interesting question, and I have the luxury of being able to say what's interesting and what's not, as opposed to like what these people are going through. But in a post-Trump world where you just essentially, to take a term from this show, stick and stay until it all blows over. Now we're in a post Al Franken world where he left, and people are like, "Why'd you do that?" He's trying to stick and stay and see if there are any negative consequences, and it looks like it's all at this point up to him.
Yeah, and this seems to be just much more extreme, and more may come. But we have right now a full investigation according to the AG's office, 2 independent attorneys who were involved, corroborating witnesses. It's a lot. It's a whole lot. All right, shifting gears. This is the dumb as new law category. Ladies and gentlemen, there's a proposal right now in a county in New York that would allow the police to retaliate against protesters and get money from them. Let me give you some background. Lawmakers in a suburban New York county voted Monday to approve a proposal that would allow police officers to sue protesters and collect financial damages. Now remember, because of qualified immunity, it can't work the other way around. Typically, okay? Qualified immunity provides a barrier between a cop and their personal finances. But proposal now so that cops can get money from protesters, a move similar to the Blue Lives Matter Act that was first proposed by GOP Congress members back in 2016. If this sounds familiar, it's connected. The bill passed by the Nassau County Legislature would make police officers and other first responders a protected class under the county's, get this, human rights law, which currently bars discrimination based on race, religion, gender, and sexual orientation. No other professions are protected under the human rights law. Isn't that something? Once again, a special little caveat for those in blue. And what they try to do is contextualize it as, all first responders. But this is really about cops. Once again, a statutory retaliation. They want it to be codified in law. It's meant to make protesters fearful of what may happen to them by exercising their freedom of speech. It gets deeper. The bill would allow a lawyer for the Long Island County to sue protesters on behalf of officers and calls for fines up to $25,000 for anyone who harasses, menaces, or injures an officer. I'm going to tell you why that's so dangerous in a moment. The fine amount would be doubled if the offending behavior happened in the course of someone participating in a riot, according to the bill. Let's break this down for a minute. What is your definition of harassment? What is it? If I'm yelling at a cop, is that harassment? Well, according to this law, it can be interpreted as such. If I'm chanting Black Lives Matter while police are in front of me, is that harassment? We just did a story a couple of weeks ago of a 19-year-old college student crumpling up paper that said Blue Lives Matter and got arrested, went to jail for a hate crime against the police. So we already know they are willing to interpret the statute at its most extreme variable in order to make others afraid of them. This is your police state, ladies and gentlemen. This is what it is. There's more. Civil rights lawyer Frederick Brewington told reporters Friday that the bill violates free speech rights, and it does, and if passed, will have a chilling effect on protesters. The NAACP said it will bring members to Monday's vote. If you want to shut someone down, take away their livelihood, Brewington said. If you want to shut someone down, take away their spirit. This is intended to evoke fear in the community. This is payback. It's not right, it's not acceptable, and it's against the law. I completely concur. Brett, thoughts?
I'm just gonna go with what my instincts are here, and I'm sure there are gonna be a bunch of right wingers out there saying that this is a violation of free speech to protest. Like, there's so much insane. This is an insane law. This is a crazy, insane law. Props to Red Loke Dragon, who said that they wrote to their legislator to vote no in Nassau County. So congratulations, that's exactly what you should be doing if you are affected by this new potential law in this county. So there's a lot going on here. One aspect of it that I think that I guess is connected to that statement about breaking people's spirit, but it's also breaking their pocketbooks. Because here's what's gonna happen, is the police union is gonna take all these cases. The police union is gonna be the one, depending on how it actually breaks down. If it's a civil case, they're gonna represent the police who feel threatened and feel upset by this, and they're gonna sue protesters who are just trying to find an hour to take off from their job, working someplace where they don't have that giant apparatus behind them, to come and exercise their First Amendment rights. And there's only so many cases that the ACLU can take up on your behalf in this situation. But what it does, the threat of that, it's another thing in America where they use the threat of financial ruin against people who just want to make sure that America is following through on the promises it originally made.
Think about the irony of it all. Literally, qualified immunity is a statutory element, right? It's not constitutional, it's statutory, meaning it was passed, it is now considered law, case law, and some states. Boom, statutory. Your freedom of speech is constitutional. What they're saying is that this statute is now more powerful than the constitutional right that you have as a person who can talk and say what you want to say. This is an assault not only on free speech, but it is an assault on the very democracy that we live in. Now let's see what happens, because Brett, everybody should be outraged, brother. Not just those on the left, all right? This is chipping away at your constitutional rights. We got more on the other side. It's indisputable. Stick and stay.
I'm back to gaslighting. Did you and I talk about gaslighting on Old School?
Probably.
That boss gaslit all his female employees. People who manipulate others like that make you feel like you're the weirdo. Why won't you punch yourself in the face? What is wrong with you? And you're like, oh my God, I feel so bad. Why didn't I just punch myself in the face and poke my eye out? I'm 47 and I just figured it out like earlier this year.
You figured out somebody was doing it to you, or that you were
that it was that it would have been happening my whole life and I didn't realize it.
Right.
All right, welcome to Dr. Rashad Richard Indisputable. This is going to be quite interesting. I don't know if you can handle this much truth on any day of the week. The unrest inside of the Black community and communities that support them is because these cops are not held accountable. You have a family calling 911, and that family is expecting help, not expecting their loved one to be killed by the very people they pay to protect and serve them. Did you ever notice a cop that you work with call any black person the N-word or target people because they were black? Nope. But we disagree that somehow police officers are not also subject to the same systemic biases and racism as any other level of law enforcement.
It sounds like for everybody's need who wants to crucify the cops without looking at it.
No, crucify bad cops, brother. Bad cops.
We don't need the government to step into our lives mandating that we should be wearing a mask.
You think you putting on a mask, Trey, is government intrusion, but you don't think the government telling a woman what she can or cannot do with her body it isn't government intrusion.
Where does life begin?
You want to go there? I can read it to you, bro.
You seem very well prepared. Certainly more.
Of course, why would I not be well prepared?
They don't stop, I don't stop. Racism won't stop, I won't stop. Systemic bias won't stop, I won't stop. People still need health care, so I won't stop. People still need criminal justice systems reform throughout this country, so I won't stop, and you won't stop either.
I've been a fan of TYT, I believe, for the last 6 years.
5 years.
3 years now. 7 years.
4 years now.
2.5 years. I just started because she got me into it.
My boyfriend actually watches it every morning and every night, so I kind of just started watching it with him, and I love it. I mean, it's the only way that I find my news.
Looking through YouTube, looking for political shows that look cool.
I came across a very angry rant from Cenk, and that's when I knew.
So I was immediately in love with the show.
And then I haven't missed a live show since then.
10 times a day, I watched the show in the morning. Whenever I had a bad day in high school, Young Turks.
Man, Cenk is just so blunt and honest, and I love the honesty, and there's no BS behind the news, and they just tell everything like it is.
There's nobody censoring him. There's nobody there to say you can't do this, you can't say that.
That feel of authenticity makes it seem like what they're saying is true.
I feel like I get the real story from the Young Turks.
I am TYT.
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 Welcome to the Damage Report. I'm John Idarola. This is gonna be a big one.
Meanwhile, in the Arctic, you know where this is going. You watch the Damage Report, the Arctic's on fire. Obviously, why would we be talking about the Arctic except to tell you that it's melting once again? The Republicans aren't that interested in it. I wonder why. Lift out of poverty up to 3.7 million people, including an estimated 1.3 million children. Hashtag save the children? Not if it costs money. I mean, come on.
Welcome back, it's indisputable. Let me read some of these amazing viewer comments. All right, let's get it. TYT member Mickey C, the silver-haired dragon. Mickey C be on it, by the way. Both my parents and their families immigrated from Italy. I had a lot of uncles and older cousins. Yes, they hugged and kissed a lot, even the men. I never saw any of them touch or kiss a stranger on the street or an employee or slide their hands under the girls' blouses or to grope our breast or ask us about our sex lives. Using it as an Italian thing is BS. And we all know it's BS. He showed a video of people that did not complain. He was trying to make a thing that wasn't a thing. All right, let's go to Super Chat. Omar says the progressive movement gets richer and sweeter, like wine, with time. Ladies and gentlemen, I give you Dr. Rashad Ritchie. Keep us informed with the facts, man. Hashtag you are the difference. And Omar, thank you for that, and so are you. Kelly O'Hara says the doctor is in and I grin. I love these poems, yeah. Every day he spits truth like home runs called by Babe Ruth. His opponents are inscrutable. It's truly indisputable. Damn.
Really good.
I like that. I may have to requote that one. Somebody send that to my email. Shamira Hill says, I look forward to this show every day. Thank you, Dr. Truth. We love you and are your biggest fans in Tulsa, Oklahoma. Keep up the great work, hearts. Thank you for that, hearts back to you. Nicole Smith. This has nothing to do with politics, talking about Cuomo, nothing to do with politics, and everything to do with power, position, and entitlement. Keep your hands to yourself with everyone. You live in foul, dude. Yeah. Gypsy Mama says, denying it and gaslighting. That touching, in quotations, propaganda video. That was just a horrible response. That I don't understand it. New York Bill, Mad Money in the building says, I'm confused. Who the F is out here blue? We got blue people now? The world is crazy. That's right. See, that blue comes off. That's not a human rights issue. It's a profession. Yeah. Diallo says, so now cops have military equipment, qualified immunity, white supremacist infiltration, and can sue peaceful protesters. Shaking my head. Yeah. Yep. Twitch. Slim Thick Civic, maybe. I was at the legislative meeting, Nassau County. I cried when it passed 12-6. It's an assault on our ability to speak freely. A recovering pagan can't wait for the first lawsuit from a cop against the family of a person they murdered. Yeah, that's so sad, isn't it? Also, a lot of people are very thankful that we got the big homie Brett with us. Man, I'm glad I got Brett with us as well. Okay, police unions are now supporting criminal cops. I mean, like cops that have been charged with crimes against the government. Here it is. The Chicago chapter of the Fraternal Order of Police Union is standing up for a Chicago cop named Carol Cheswick, who was charged for his participation in the January 6th insurrection, because he now might lose his job. And by the way, he should lose his damn job after what he did. This was revealed in court filings a week after police officers who responded to the January 6th attack had publicly rebuked the union and other unions for their lack of support. So let's put up this cop. Let's put him up, okay? You see that? He took his own selfie. Now there's an emblem on his attire. He's wearing an official police shirt while committing criminal acts. That's what he's doing. Federal prosecutors say Cheswick took pictures of himself wearing a sweatshirt with the Chicago Police Department emblem while storming the US Capitol. CPD officer Carol Cheswick was charged in June with not one, but 2 misdemeanors after breaching the Capitol and the office of Democratic Senator Jeff Merkley. Prosecutors said in charging documents that Cheswick used the N-word when bragging to a friend about his actions at the Capitol that day, saying, N-word don't snitch. He hasn't yet entered a plea to the charges. He wasn't accused of violent crimes. So he was released by a judge and ordered not to have any guns in his home and to give up the firearm owner ID card that is required under state law in Illinois. So they said, hey, give up your guns and give up this ID to have these guns. This is going to be part of your bond, right? Okay, fair enough. He has to go to trial. He gets due process like anybody else. But in new court filings, Cheswick asked for permission to retake possession of the ID card because he says he needs to keep his job. Even though he was moved to desk duty and doesn't carry a gun. Wait a minute. So literally he's lying to the judge. He doesn't need the card. They put him on desk duty. But he wants this card back for what? So he can get his guns? Well, the judge said you can't have your guns right now. We got to wait till your due process happens. So literally you have a criminal cop who goes to the Capitol, gets charged, has a bond requirement pending the adjudication. He's still working, okay? The vice president of the Chicago chapter of the Fraternal Order of Police Union sent a letter to the court, ladies and gentlemen, saying that the union would try to block Cheswick's possible firing and will, and I quote, start the grievance process to get Officer Cheswick into a pay status if he gets back his firearm ID card. Wow. It goes even deeper than that. Now, I want you to remember, these individuals do not represent the best of policing. They don't, they represent the worst. Daniel Gorman, another union official, also sent a letter after Cheswick asked for assistance. Magistrate Judge Robin Merriweather hasn't ruled yet on whether to return the ID card. When Capitol officers gave their emotional testimonies last week, they said they were disappointed in the National Union for not having yet condemned the insurrection and for not having done more to support them and the other responding officers on January 6th. Remember, the Capitol Police are police too. The Capitol Police are police. So literally, you have the union, police unions, taking the side of cops who have been charged with crimes and being antithetical and adversarial to cops who were victims of crimes. That's what's happening right now. That is your police union at work. Meanwhile, this week, news broke officers having committed suicide. This is so sad. Put up their pictures. This is so sad. Gunther Hashida and Kyle DeFreitak, both of them committed suicide. That brings the number to 4. That brings the number to 4. Brett, what are your thoughts?
So when this stuff happens, you can just kind of hear the arguments that you'll get back. I try to see how people are arguing because I really get super depressed about stories like this, and I get really defeatist and try to see if I'm just not giving people the benefit of the doubt. But this guy, it's not that he was halfway down the mall when the rest of the protesters were in the Capitol building or rioters were in the Capitol building. This guy was in Jeff Merkley's office and he was not supposed to be. That is the thing that shines to me as the reason that we need to revisit what we're doing with this guy. We can't just give him, you aren't charged with a violent crime, just go on your way. No, this guy, and we're so desensitized to it. This guy breached the Capitol building during a riot. This police officer, and again, like they're not sending, whether if he is the best, he's certainly not the brightest. You can wear your police officer shirt. The reason that I would say, if I'm reading tea leaves there, is he wanted to make eye contact with police officers and get more of the reception that we saw where they were taking photographs with empathetic police officers and smiling and hugging. That was code. That's why there's a blue line in their flags. That's why they all stick together and say back the blue and blue lives matter. It's not because the law's on their side. It's because they're all on each other's side and they want that to be the law. Yeah. That's what's so horrifying about all of it.
Yeah, and what you see is culture eating policy alive. You can have the right policy on paper. You can have the right laws in writing. But if you have a culture that stands against the very policy structure, that culture in policing or anywhere else, that culture will eat that policy alive every day. Shifting. Ladies and gentlemen, I wish a Karen would.
You want to call the police on them for having a barbecue on a Sunday.
I feel free. Back off.
I'm going to tell them there's an African-American man threatening my life.
You guys suck. My parents are worth $2 million goddamn dollars. And you know what? Yeah. You know what? My grandpa is worth $4 million.
My. There's more. But let me give you a little bit of background. An out of control drunk male Karen, for this show we call them male Karens. I know there are many other names for them. He had to be duct taped to his seat on Frontier Airlines. He allegedly groped the breast of 2 flight attendants and took a swing at the third. The male Karen, his name is Maxwell Berry, 22 years of age. Let's put his picture up. That's him. Was arrested and charged with 3 misdemeanor counts of battery. That's it. Misdemeanors. While taped up, he managed to get out of his mouth a yell for help. Here's another video.
Oh, now you want some help.
Just make sure your seatbelts are back.
That was the help has arrived, friend.
This shows you that duct tape really can fix anything. A few weeks before this happened, there was another incident where someone tried to open a window or get out the door in the aircraft. And hey, they had to duct tape that individual too. Seems to be a protocol here. Brett, what are your thoughts, man?
Is it weird to say I needed this story today? Like we got Nina Turner yesterday, like all this stuff. I needed this story today. Sir, if your family is so wealthy, what are you doing in row 25F on a Frontier Airlines flight? If you're riding that high, why are you not in one of those JetBlue numbers where it's all lay flat seats? You're not even at a bulkhead. You don't have economy plus, buddy. It seems like your family has had it up to here with you, just like the in-flight crew. I can't like it. So in the wake of this, I just love seeing him like that. It's what else are they supposed to do? Like in the wake of this, you look at the incident, and it seems like the Frontier said that they have temporarily suspended the flight attendant who duct taped him because, or whatever it is, packing taped it, because that is not protocol. And I understand that, and they do it typically as a process pending investigation. So and they also, after making their initial statement, backtracked it because they saw the blowback and everything. I'm interested to see how that plays out. But in the meantime, I think we all need to listen to that little voice inside us that looks at it and says, like, what else are they supposed to do?
Right. So one of the statements from Frontier initially was, unfortunately, the proper policies for restraining a passenger were not followed. First of all, why is this not protocol? Like literally, this should be listed as here's what will happen if you decide to physically assault flight attendants, grope them, sexually harass them, put other passengers in danger, whatever. You will be duct taped if we don't have anything else. I'm cool with that being in the policy. You agree to it when you buy your ticket. Okay, so you're right. They were initially told, hey, this was not proper protocol. Frontier Airlines said in an initial statement on Tuesday that the flight attendants would be relieved of flying while it investigated, which drew sharp criticism from the Association of Flight Attendants. They stood up. That's the nation's largest flight attendants union. Later on Tuesday, the airline said that paid leave was in line with an event of this nature. They're calling it one of the worst disruptions of the year, according to the president. A drunk and irate passenger verbally, physically, and sexually assaulted multiple members of the crew. When he refused to comply after multiple attempts to de-escalate, the crew was forced to restrain the passenger with the tools available to them on board. We are supporting the crew. You're damn right. You should be supporting the crew. Just one more time, just put his picture up again. Let's do that for me.
It's just the face of a guy who realizes, yeah, I think I was a little too drunk. I want to know where he was going, what he was planning to do. They say he had 3 drinks and he turned into that. It's like, sir, I know it's an altitude.
Yeah,
but come on.
Yeah, he was headed from Philadelphia to Miami. Didn't quite make it to his destination. We got more on the other side. It's indisputable. Stick and stay.
I'll predict right here for you, Chris. I think Donald Trump will leave office before his term is up. He'll be humiliated, embarrassed, and I know him. He's not gonna wanna lose, and he's gonna run for the hills.
You got that bet all day long.
Okay, let's get after it. Now, so look, Jake has made some good predictions, and this is in good fun. I could not disagree more.
There's no bromance between the two of them. You got that bet all day long, Janky, you. Oh, you stop. In the meantime, let's call him out on the damage.
But
I just got a Roku set. Did basically a little bit of channel surfing, and I was like, there we are.
Yeah.
There we are. And then I turned it on, and it was John and Brett on Damage Report making fun of me.
Oh no.
So you are so busted. I even took a picture of it, okay? And they're talking about my predictions. I got a new prediction for you, John Idarola.
You're doing a show that's blowing the doors off everybody.
Young Turks is the largest online news network, not a big deal. We're gonna rock the boat. We're gonna be counter-establishment. We're gonna tell people the truth to the best of our abilities. We're so sick of this corruption. We're not the robots on TV. I actually care about the news. Guilty, I care. 4th day on Occupy Wall Street. Last night we launched Wolfpack. It's us pushing our ideas out there, trying to help the country in every way that we can, trying to make this place just a little bit better. Reporting from the Hillary-Bernie debate, I gotta be honest, you know what we do, we cover it for real. For us, this system isn't working. Free and fair elections.
And when he told the cops that day, when they came to drag her away, and he said, if you're gonna chain her, you're gonna chain me. If you're gonna arrest her, you're gonna arrest me.
Hi, I'm Bartholomew Joseph Kyle. I do audio for the main show, The Young Turks. I also do audio for Post Game. I started in 2006. I met Cenk Uygur at the Iraq for Sale screening that was directed by Robert Greenwald. And watching that, I want to figure out a way to be part of something that's genuine and authentic.
Welcome back to Indisputable. We got a lot of viewer comments. Let's get it. TYT member Rob says, this story breaks my heart. Yep. Jess B. Anti-Racist says, since when hasn't the cops union protected their fellow gang and blue members? It's always been a thing. Right. YouTube super chat. Bernie the Kiwi Dragon. I gotta say, Karens elicit the same feelings as cockroaches do when they start flying.
Oh, wow. That is the most visceral image I have ever.
I know.
Because you're like, cockroaches, got it. I got it. I know what the rest of this is gonna be. And then that same image when they start, do they fly? Is that like a palmetto bugs or something? It's like a, horrifying.
Yeah, very. Bree says, thank you for your voice, Dr. Richard. Keep holding these people accountable for their inhumanity. Thank you for that, and I shall. Peter Hamby, how ironic that the people who are supposed to protect and serve the people, they're willing to protect and serve a person who threw his reputation for Trump, okay? Mad Money in the building. I sent that drunk duct tape Karen to you and John yesterday. Glad y'all covered it. You know you done goofed if you're getting taped to your seat. I wonder at what point in that debacle did he say, damn, I effed up? Yeah.
Not well, he was taped to his seat and he's still yelling, help! Like
right. Okay. Let's go to Twitch. Resto Dragon says, gonna have to hold the entire police department responsible as he was wearing clothing that identified him as working for, therefore representing said police department. Yeah, I know. I mean, you went there with the whole company logo. Come on now. Yeah. Ladies and gentlemen, there's a black male who is being charged after he was assaulted. Let me give you this background. It's amazing. A black man who alleged that a group of white men assaulted him and threatened to get a noose at an Indiana lake is facing misdemeanor trespass and felony battery charges more than a year after the event. Many of you remember this video. A video of the original incident went viral. Here's a reminder of that video.
Let him go, dude. Let him go. Let him go, please. Let him go. Please let him go. We're going to as soon as you let him go. I'm going to. Get out of here. Let him go. Get your phone out of here and go. Let him go. Shake your head at me. Let him go. Get the out of here. You happy about this? You nappy-headed bitch. You happy about this?
What do you really want to call me?
You nappy-headed bitch.
What do you want to call me?
About this? You with your 5 white friends? You happy with your 5 white friends? You guys started all. You put it in your fucking film, bitch. Did you stupid fucking liberal? Bring it back. That's what you get.
The victim is being charged in this situation. Vox Booker, a local civil rights activist, said an order to get a noose was uttered but not captured on video. He said in a Facebook post after the incident that he had a minor concussion, abrasions, and some ripped out hair patches from the attack. Booker was charged over his involvement in the July 2020 assault at Lake Monroe, which was subject to an FBI investigation. 2 of the men who were involved in assaulting Booker were charged with battery last July. The Monroe County branch of the NAACP is demanding that the charges against Booker, the dam, be dropped, and that a special prosecutor who filed them be dropped, and that a special prosecutor who filed them resign. Sonoya Learcamp. So we remember this video. I remember when I first watched it, I said, damn, that brother has to be terrified. He got assaulted. We saw it. There was an investigation. But he gets the more serious of the charges. How do you explain this to me? He gets a felony charge. Brett, what are your thoughts?
I mean, it's one of those things where The trespassing, sure. Like maybe there's some law that I don't understand that when I look at it, I'll be like, oh, that's the law that applies to this piece of land. But like it's one of those things about the law where you have to look at it and say, well, can we focus on the spirit of it for a second? The fact that this guy's being held against a tree by a guy and a group of friends of a guy who can't wait and feels like he's really winning. He's getting around the system by using the term he used in yelling at the victim here. He thinks I'm not using the N-word, I'm using another N-word. So I'm not in trouble now. No one would know that when I just did what I did with my friends and the way I did it, that I'm a terrible racist, criminally so. I'm glad that guy's facing charges, but again, like, where are the people that are talking about stand your ground laws if that's what applies? Like to come back and say, well, he fought, if it is the case that he was in a physical altercation, maybe he was fighting back. And this is the beginning, like there's another podcast out there that Barry Weiss, who coined the term intellectual dark web or whatever, is passing around about the Audubon Society guy and the Karen in the park. And they're trying to say, well, let's pay attention to what her day was like when she said on the police, I'm being attacked when she wasn't. There's this weird thing where it's a combination of contrarianism and just some weird jujitsu of view seeking that allows them to just annoy you in that really terrible way that belittles the very real social justice issues that are injustice issues that are playing out before our very eyes. And they're like, you do not need to see its identification. This is not the racism you're looking for. Sucks.
Very well said. Very well said. Now, Marjorie Taylor Greene, she's advocating for people to kill other people who simply knock on your door. Let me just go to the first video.
And one more thing on that, you lucky people here in Alabama might get a knock on your door because I hear Alabama might be one of the most unvaccinated states in the nation. Well, Joe Biden wants to come talk to you guys.
You're damn right, somebody needs to talk to you. You all are celebrating being the most unvaccinated state. That's a celebration for you. You give that a round of applause. While a woman who is vaccinated, I don't give a damn what she says. Oh, that's my personal health business, I don't disclose. She's vaccinated, believe it. She got the shot. And she wants you to applaud not being vaccinated. And then she wants you to kill somebody if they knock on your door to ask, hey, would you like a shot? Would you like the vaccine? Here's the next video.
He's gonna be sending one of his police state friends to your front door to knock on the door, take down your name, your address, your family members' names, your phone numbers, your cell phone numbers, probably ask for your social security number and whether you've taken the vaccine or not. Yeah, well, what they don't know is in the South, we all love our Second Amendment rights. And we're not real big on strangers showing up on our front door, are we?
Let me say this first. If this becomes a government program and you do knock on doors, I encourage no black person to do this in Alabama. None. Think about this now. She's advocating people grabbing their guns if somebody just knocks on their door and has a question about COVID. You don't have to answer it, you're not compelled, you're not mandated. Now, obviously, she's mixing a whole lot of lies in her commentary. And by the way, the government is well aware of your address. By the way, I don't know if she knows that, but they do know where you live. Here's more.
Dr. Tony Fauci funded with your tax dollars. He funded it in the Wuhan lab, didn't he? He funded COVID-19.
This is so damn dangerous. She's now saying that Dr. Fauci funded COVID-19. She's placing the blame of hundreds of thousands of deaths at the feet of Fauci. You don't think that's going to incite people who really believe this rhetoric from this charlatan? You don't think this is going to make people angry beyond belief who believe in this simpleton? There's more.
So this man sent your tax dollars, my tax dollars, through a third party to the Wuhan lab, where the gain of function was used to take a virus that was spread between animals, and it was changed into a virus that spread between humans all over the world, has gotten people sick, and they're dying. They died and they're still dying.
Listen, it is fair to say that she wants people to get killed. And I say that I'm not being hyperbolic when I say that. It is completely fair to say that Congresswoman Marjorie Taylor Greene wants people to get killed. Brett, what are your thoughts about this?
There's a lot going on here, but a lot of it is like this weird vigilante murder porn. They have this fantasy that the state is gonna come do that. And if the state does that, I think that's bad. If the state comes and asks for your social security, no one's proposing that.
Right.
And then also, which is it? Like, is this a deadly virus or not, Marjorie? Like, you want credit for Fauci creating a monster, but at every other turn when it's convenient for you, you downplay the virus. Period. Don't get a vaccine. None of it. She wants to play it all ways, no matter what happens if it contradicts itself. That's what I find wildly frustrating. And then also that gain of function stuff, that's based on something that Rand Paul mentioned erroneously. And while there is funding somewhere up the chain that may have made its way to a lab, like, what is the point of that? There's no other point of it. If they're gonna ignore every person who is an actual medical expert, then why do we listen to them? Because they're not medical experts. Rand Paul is an expert, technically, as a doctor, and even he's wrong.
Yep. All right. My dear brother, I appreciate you being with me today on Indisputable. How can people check you out, follow you?
We got Happy Half Hour coming up this evening, 5:30 p.m. Pacific, 8:30 p.m. Eastern time on twitch.tv/TYT. And follow me at Brett Ehrlich and watch all the shows. You know what I mean? Just watch all the shows.
Watch them all. Thank you, my friend.
Thank you.
All right, we got more. Stick and stay.
You know, old school's pitched to me from Jake. It'll just be me, you, Jesus, Ben, and maybe Michael. And we're like, okay, cool. I can do that every week. As you can see, me, Jesus, Ben.
When you make the order, it says, don't exceed $20.01. So I'll just order literally anything to get it as close to that as I possibly can.
I'm sorry that I ordered $45 worth of food and got an email saying, sir, would you like to rethink that? What are you talking about?
I was in hell. I was just like, oh my God, the theater's empty, nobody's here. Everyone on screen keeps fucking cursing. Why did I let this happen? And the whole thing looks like it was shot through a glass of milk. My mom's gonna be so mad.
If you're looking for a heart attack, the short way, baby.
Wrong. I did put mayonnaise on it. I'm the most in shape, overweight person you'll find.
That's right.
He was like, why didn't you answer my call? I called you 39 times.
Yuck. But what makes you stop right before 40? You know, what makes you say, nah, man, I ain't doing that no more. I'm cool.
And I called you back on the air. And I was like, okay, Kevin Smith, big shot. What the you said you'd come on and you didn't come on.
I'm sure I took that very well.
Yeah, you did. You called me back the next day and said, I thought it was 7 a.m. There's now deep fake porn. I don't know if you guys have heard of this.
Heard of it? I just had some in the car.
I'll tell you who I'm not Ben Mankiewicz. Have you guys ever felt that?
Not ever.
And now it's just the three of us.
This is the intimate hour.
By the way, the last half hour of this, we're not even rolling.
Fair enough.
Right, man. Easily.
See, I watch movies.
I'm done with both of you.
Once Craig starts laughing, I can't stop. And I was just gonna ask you about getting high, snoogans, snoochie boochies.
And members, of course, you can get the whole damn thing. TYT.com, join and free trial.
I'm old school with the old folks. Good.
John, come back.
It's time to switch to music.
Oh, man.
Oh, God.
Do your best.
He's a little like
Oh. No one's happy now.
Give him another try.
Oh.
Wow. This is the weirdest game.
I'm Brett. I would like to refer to this segment as the Do I Still Have This Talent show. So I want to see if I can play harmonica without my hands. I don't know why I have that. Nothing's gonna be more impressive than that. I can also spin a basketball on my finger. While drinking. I'm gonna spin a basketball on my finger while drinking apple juice. You can do this, dude. It's also flat. I don't know if that helps or hurts. And it seems to be somewhat wobbly. Ta-da! Nope, I don't know how to do this one. This one's a fail. Nope. Oh God, I'm so mad.
What's happening? Welcome back. I got a lot of comments to read. Let me try to get to as many as possible. TYT member Eric the Red says, at least she's admitting that COVID is deadly, but in a few days she'll be saying it's no big deal, no doubt. Exactly. Jojo H, how come Fauci doesn't sue people like Marjorie Taylor Cheese for her lies about him? Because he's a public figure and the bar is set very high for slander and libel, but he probably should do it anyway. YouTube super chat. Ben says corruption, they knew they could get away with it. Self-defense all the way. Orlando, she is just like Donald Trump. The two of them both like to incite confusion and controversy. Yeah. Twitch, airship right. And the white guy who assaulted the camera holder twice? Question mark. Mike Boy Raps. You can see how racism is generational because he's willing to do this in front of his daughter. They always are. And no shame with them. Soapman 88, Fauci has had a security detail for a long while now. Sad. And he's gonna have to keep it. As a matter of fact, I hope he does beef it up. But unfortunate, but real. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, we're gonna do something a little different today. I'm giving you a throwback bullpen. Sit back and enjoy. Ladies and gentlemen, it is time for the bullpen. The man bold enough to step into the bullpen today is none other than nationally recognized Republican strategist Ash Wright. Ash Wright's background includes senior political advisor to Commissioner George P. Bush, deputy director of government relations, Texas General Land Office, and political director of the Republican Party of Texas. Him and I actually have something in common. There was a time in my life, Mr. Wright, where I was the political director for the Georgia Democratic Party some time ago. So I understand the party politics, which in a state can be quite chaotic, right?
That's right, for sure.
All right, so based on some of the commentary I've seen and some of the posts you have made, you are a big Second Amendment guy, okay? You are a guns guy. And I don't want to presume your point of view before we get into our discussion. So let me ask you, what do you feel, or how do you feel the Second Amendment connects to the everyday American? Why is it so important to you?
Sure. Yeah. I mean, look, to me, the Second Amendment is something that I value, frankly, because someone's trying to take it away from me, if that makes sense, right? So I am, like you said, I'm a big gun guy. I live in rural Texas. I'm a hunter. fisherman. That's just kind of who I am. I have lots of guns, right? I don't own any machine guns or military grade weapons, but I am a big gun, and I like to fight for people's right to own those guns. And frankly, it's just something that I feel like that Americans should have the right to own because someone's trying to take them away from us. So if the government doesn't want me to own guns, then that tells me that we need to have the ability to own guns, if that makes sense. And so that's part of why I'm a big supporter of the Second Amendment and why I'm going to fight staunchly for Americans' rights to continue that.
Let me tell you why that doesn't make sense to me. Every right comes with a level of responsibility. There is no right completely unchecked. Even former Justice Scalia talked about how these rights must carry common sense responsibility and restriction. So let's talk about the freedom of speech. Well, you have the right to say what you want to say without the government limiting that right. But if you say things that infringe on my right to life and liberty, if you say fire in a crowded building and there is no fire in that crowded building, well, you can actually be charged with a crime. The government can say, no. You cannot use your speech to create physical harm to other people. That's not considered speech control, correct?
Yeah, correct. I mean, look, you're absolutely right, and I know you didn't think you were going to hear that today, right? But I think the premise of that is correct. But at the same time, I think, look, we already have that, right? Like sensible Americans that are owning guns are already abiding by the laws, the same laws that we abide by with free speech, like you're talking about. We don't go into buildings and yell fire. We also go down and get background checks when we buy guns. We get the same background checks, whether it's at a gun show or whether you're buying them down at your local gun shop. I mean, I don't carry my gun without a concealed carry license if it's against the law to carry on any premise or in states where they have stricter gun laws. And so we're already abiding by those same things, just like we are in the First Amendment. And so, but continuing to add to that, like over and over and over, like right now with them trying to add, 10-day waiting periods for background checks or ban these military grade, weapons without any like actual formal description of what a military grade weapon is where I think the average American has a problem with this. And so it's kind of, in fact, we've been dealing with this as a country all the way back into the 90s. And that was part of the problem when Bill Clinton passed his ban on assault weapons, was that there was no real definition of what an assault weapon is. And that's essentially what we're going back to today. But that would kind of be my question back to you, which would be, I understand your premise of that, but then what is your take on and where do you think that line is drawn in the sand between my right to own a gun versus also my right to own a gun in a law-abiding manner?
Let me put it to you this way. Our right to own a gun is not our right to own a bazooka. And you understand the point that I'm making. It's the carnage of the weaponry that is called into question. And if you want to look at it technically, knives are considered arms as well. But we've had Supreme Court decisions to kind of split the hairs on what a weapon or what an arms is. But let me disagree with you on the sentiment that most Americans are actually on your side as it relates to this. Pew Research did a poll, brother. And Pew Research conducted this poll and found that 60% of Americans say that gun laws should be tougher. That was up from 57% from last year and 52% from 2017. So as the years progress, more Americans are saying we now need tougher gun laws. Here's another stat, and this is in your state of Texas. And Texas has now passed one of the most, in my opinion, insane gun laws I have ever seen. But let's talk about Texas. 81% of Texans, including 79% of gun-owning households and 79% of Republicans, support requiring a permit to carry a handgun in Texas. However, they just passed a law expressing the exact opposite, or just presented a law expressing the exact opposite of the sentiment of their actual Texans. Here's another stat: 78% of Texans, including 78% of gun-owning households and 73% of Republicans, support requiring all gun buyers, even in a private gun deal, must submit to a criminal background check. So, brother, you are out of touch with not only the sentiment of the country, but the sentiment of your own state. So how is it that Texas can get away with proposing a law that's contrary to the expression of their political base and their citizens?
Well, I haven't seen that exact poll, so I can't speak directly to that number, and I'll look it up after we get off. But look, I've seen polling on the other side, and part of the reason why.
Well, brother, do me a favor. Let me say this. I want you to cite the polling on the other side that you've seen.
I have seen internal campaign polling that shows that. I'm not. I mean, I'm under NDAs and contracts. I'm not at liberty to say on air.
Top secret. Wait. Top secret polling.
Well, I wouldn't call it top secret.
Well, if you can't tell me where the polling came from, who did the polling, and what the polling says. The NRA has put out a lot of statistics and studies that say most Americans, most Texans, and I believe most Americans who own guns do not support a right to have to go through more background checks. I mean, we already have criminal background checks for every single person that buys a gun. Every time I go down and purchase a firearm, I go through a criminal background check. Every time, if I want to apply for a CHL or a concealed handgun license, I go through a criminal background check. I mean, these laws aren't. I mean, what we do as a country is we mush the data and we kind of make it sound like some individual can just wake up tomorrow morning and go down and buy in some cases, sir,
that's just not simply the case.
In all due respect, CNN just did a story where they followed a teenager to a gun show in one of the states that had the gun show loophole, where a background check and an ID was not required to purchase from a gun show through a private dealer. That is a problem because it sounds like you're saying that you go through the background checks, and I assume that you would be okay if that was a uniform national law. Would you be okay with that?
Yeah, absolutely. I already do that every day. Look, I agree. We need background checks. We need to be able to know people's mental health. We need to, if you have been in federal prison, if you are, committing other crimes. I mean, we do need to know that for gun owners. I'm not arguing that point. What I'm arguing is that we already do that. Now, there may be some.
No, not everyone. Not everyone.
Okay, that's what I'm saying. There may be few instances where we don't do that, and those people should be held accountable for that. But increasing it throughout, like increasing regulation on me, on the law-abiding citizen, isn't going to ever prevent 100% of people going down and breaking the law and selling firearms illegally. And that's to my point, is that we're regulating the people that are already following the regulations.
Okay, let me ask you this, because I got to get to it. I don't want to get bogged down on one point. Are you in agreement with the Texas legislation, which says you do not have to possess a permit to carry a gun? Are you for that legislation or against it?
Correct. I mean, look, yes, because when you go down and purchase a firearm, you're already going through the checks that say you're allowed to own this firearm. So there shouldn't have to be an additional permit to carry this. Now, I don't personally carry a gun on me. It's not a law that I'm going to take, take use of. But I do think that we should have the right to do that, and I think that makes our citizens safer. It allows them to protect themselves, and that's something that we need, frankly, across the whole country.
So let me ask you this question, because I find it quite ironic, brother, that you will say you're okay with Texas having this proposed legislation to where a citizen in Texas does not need a permit to carry a gun. Let me ask you this: do you think you need a license to drive a car?
Yes.
Do you think you need a license to get married? It's called a marriage license.
I mean, yes. I mean, there is a marriage license, but I think a marriage is ordained by God, not by the state. So I guess, technically, I guess I would say I don't believe you have to have a marriage license.
Really
but I do say, but look, the difference but look, here's the difference, right? I do think you need a license to drive a car, right? I need to go through a background check to drive a gun or to buy a gun. The difference is, though, is that we don't ban cars, or we don't strengthen and go through more regulation for 16-year-olds to drive cars, even though that's actually not true. A number of people drive from like drunk driving or die from drunk driving, et cetera.
No, sir.
I mean,
that's not true. What you're saying is not true.
Guns don't kill people. People kill people.
Okay,
cars don't drive drunk. People drive drunk.
Okay.
Does that make
so So no, it doesn't make sense. Number one, there are restrictions on how 16-year-olds can use a car. In most states, 16-year-olds cannot have full driving access without having an adult driver in the vehicle. So you're wrong on that. 16-year-olds are restricted and regulated. Number two, manufacturers of cars are restricted on the kind of car they can actually promote for sale. There are certain cars that if they don't have a certain preset speed limit, and if they have particular elements added to the car, they are no longer street ready. They cannot be driven as a regular car. So there are common sense restrictions for cars. There are common sense restrictions
for guns as well, right? Like I can't go down to my local gun shop and buy a machine gun today. I would have to have a.
But you can make one.
A license, a federal.
You can make. But think about this. You can make a machine gun. Why is that not regulated? Why can't we just say, listen, if you can't buy it, right? Let's make it illegal to make one. Let's not allow that loophole to stand.
Well, it's illegal to own one without the proper licensing. So even if you build it, it doesn't negate the fact that
you have to register it. You have to register it with the ATF. But still, think about the common sense, brother. I think you're a smart guy. So let me go back to the foundation principle that I'm trying to make here. If it's illegal to buy it and it's illegal to own it, why is it not illegal to make it and then illegal to own it? Think about it this way. If it's illegal to have narcotics and it's illegal to use narcotics, why would it all of a sudden become legal if you made the narcotic yourself?
Well, but like I get what you're saying. I think we're coming to the same point, which is we don't need to regulate. I mean, you can't go out and just purchase, for example, bump stocks or a lot of things that it takes to build these guns. I mean, you make it sound like anyone can just drive down to the local gun store and buy enough guns to create a machine gun, and that's really, frankly, just not the truth. And so it already is illegal and regulated extremely throughout the process. And once you build it, it's illegal to own it without having it regulated. So I mean, it's like we're just tacking on laws to enforce laws that we already have. And if the individual is going to build a gun and not go down and license it, they're going to do that whether we make it illegal to buy the gun or not.
Yeah, but you can't make that as your argument, because if you say, well, let's not pass a common sense law because individuals will still break the law, that means you need to get rid of all of your laws. Get rid of murder, get rid of assault, get rid of aggravated assault, get rid of all of it, because there are people that will still violate the law even with laws on the books. That's the sense that you're making when you say things people are still going to violate the law.
Where we disagree is that it's a common sense law, because a common sense law would regulate something that isn't done by the average. The average citizen can't do this anyways. And so it's not common sense because it doesn't make any possible sense, since the average citizen cannot go down and build their own machine gun without licenses to buy parts to those guns.
No, sir. Look, that argument doesn't work here.
You can go down and buy build semi-automatic guns, but you have to be licensed to buy certain.
Let me tell you something, man. Let me tell you something, brother. Laws are not actually made based on what the average citizen will do. Let's start there, because the average citizen will never commit murder. But that doesn't mean we do not have murder laws on the books. So you're right, the average citizen will not make a machine gun, but that is not the prerequisite for a law on the books. It never has been, and it should not be in this context. Do you not agree?
I mean, I agree with the sentiment that you're saying, but I don't think that should apply to gun law, to just creating more and more gun laws, which in turn makes it harder for individuals that are law-abiding citizens to own guns. I mean, what we're doing is we create bills where we say, okay, well, you cannot build a gun, but then we tack on, well, you also can't own a military-grade weapon, but we don't define what military-grade weapon means.
Well, how do you define it?
I would say that a military grade weapon is a weapon that can create mass destruction and is automatic. But that also doesn't mean that the average citizen shouldn't be able to own a semi-automatic. For example, my shotgun is a semi-automatic, which is not.
How many bullets does it shoot, brother?
It takes 3 rounds at a time.
Okay, and 3 rounds at a time.
And then I have to reload to get.
Gotcha. And what do you use that gun for?
Hunting.
Now let me just say this, man. I'm not a hunter, but brother, if you gotta have a gun like that to shoot something, you may be in the wrong hobby. It takes that many bullets to shoot something.
A bird, yes it does. You should come to Texas and hunt with me sometime.
Let me tell you something. Ain't no way in the hell I'm coming to Texas with you and a gun, brother. That's just not gonna happen. I promise you that. That's the last thing I want to do in my life.
I live in a very safe community and we all own guns.
That's what that last Karen said too, a very safe community, right? Let me move to this question about arming for the government, right? Because the original context of the Constitution said this is a well-regulated militia, right? An armed militia for the sake of taking arms against the United States government. We recently had a statement that came from Laura Trump. And I want you to answer this question for me. Laura Trump said on Fox News a couple of days ago that individuals on the border should basically take matters into their own hands. They need to grab their guns, take matters into their own hands. Now, I want to remind you, undocumented workers aren't coming to America to kill Americans at the border. They're trying to avoid Americans. They're trying to get into the country. But for Laura Trump to say something like this on a major cable news station, that American citizens may need to grab their guns and take matters into their own hands because she may disagree with the immigration policy, don't you think that's just going too far?
Yeah, I mean, look, honestly, yeah, it is going too far. I go down to the border in South Texas all the time. Frankly, those are great communities. They're very safe. There is no need for anyone to take up arms in South Texas. There's no need for anyone to take up arms in El Paso or frankly anywhere along the Texas border. I believe that's the exact same case in Arizona and California. So yeah, I think, look, that is probably, I didn't hear the comments, but it sounds like it's pandering. And that's really, frankly, that's part of what is wrong with the gun debate is we need to get back to, in your words, common sense and talk about this I'm trying to think of the word. I'm drawing a blank on the word, but using South Texas or the border in Texas to justify taking up arms, frankly, just isn't right. And frankly, it does the injustice of those communities. It does an injustice for those communities because those communities are just as safe as I am here in Abilene, Texas, or anywhere else in the state of Texas, frankly, and in most cases safer.
And Ash, that's what I need you to do, brother. The way you just articulated the reality that statements like that simply pander rather than promote a common sense solution or negotiation. You have to call out those on the right. You are in a position as a leader in the Republican Party to call out the rhetoric that's on the right. And believe me, I get it. I know it's not easy. I call out rhetoric on the right and the left. I'm okay with giving it to them both ways, right? You have to be one of those individuals because what you've said on my show, even though I disagree with most of it, I actually agree with some of it. That's a start. That is a start.
That's right. So absolutely.
I highly encourage you, man. Hold them accountable to the ridiculousness. Make sure that you say what you want to say to them, just like you said on this program. Don't pander yourself, brother. Ash, I appreciate you being.
Thanks for having me on. I appreciate it. It was a great talk.
Thank you.